flaming fireball through the sky. Just watching it, like literally driving down a street kind of like this, up kind of close to the coast someplace, and just across the night sky. So what do I remember junior high being as an educational experience? For some reason, one of the most notable things is that I basically was not able, in photography class, was not able to ever do anything because I had this mental block against memorizing these 10 steps that I would have to have memorized to perform in the darkroom for developing. Yeah, that's like one of the more memorable educational and I think we started to have what they called a home economics class, which was cooking class, which I was just all about. I just wanted to be a cook, I think, at that age. But it wasn't, in junior high school, it was both cooking and sewing. So I got to make this giant pillow as well as cooking, which cooking was really what I was all about. In high school, it was divided into two different things. So I was able to take just the cooking class. I remember I took a water weenie to school one day, and I was trying to take it to something after school, basically was the concept. I guess I just looked suspicious, and a teacher took it away from me. I was so bummed. It was just a water weenie. There's really even no way to fill it at school. It was an empty water weenie. I can understand a full water weenie, but an empty water weenie? Seriously? And they just take shit. They just like, okay, it's ours now. Like, seriously? You just stole my water weenie. Apparently that was a traumatic moment in my life. Apparently by junior high, I had started to catch up a little bit from being bumped up in school. That was between, it must have been between 3rd and 4th grade. So I jumped up then, and then I had 5th grade, I had 6th grade. It might have been, I don't know. Anyway, and I was started, but I never really got good grades. So, even though still in those higher grades, I wasn't actually getting good actual grades. I mean, I was like getting C's or D's or whatever, so maybe I'd get an occasional B. I don't know if I ever got an A. Not sure. And that was always a point of contention. Like, I was just like, well, I guess I'm an idiot. And then it was always with my mom, it was like the grades or everything was tied to everything. So in later years, it's just impossible to stay with it. But I was still making an effort in junior high school. I think that's just because what else are you gonna do? But I never did like homework. You know, I was probably, so most kids would get off of school, they'd get onto a bus. You know, I'm assuming those kids would go home, get home, and then do homework, you know. Where with me, I had these huge journeys, you know, and I'd want to leave school like everybody else. And I'm not even sure if staying after school to do my homework, that probably was an option. And that is probably what I should have done. You know, start my adventure home, or to karate class or something, and by the time I get home, I doing homework wouldn't be what I was looking forward to doing. I don't actually remember what I was looking forward to doing. But I wasn't getting my homework done. That's just probably where the grades weren't that great. The class sizes were continually getting bigger. And yeah, it was just junior high was just a weird time of transition, and I think that's what it's designed for. But with my life, it had a little extra level of depth, with the fact that I, at the same time, went from living with my dad to living with my mom and stepdad. So it was like a total change, and it didn't take long for me to start putting on weight. Like, I probably was starting to put on weight by like the beginning of the 8th grade year. So one of my earliest memories is driving in my dad's old rusty pickup truck down to the coast at night with my mom and my dad. And I remember seeing across the horizon of the sky a flaming asteroid, just a flaming fireball through the sky. Just watching it, like literally driving down a street kind of like this, up kind of close to the coast someplace, and just across the night sky, this huge, I mean, in my memory, it was this ginormous thing just burning through the sky. Then we proceeded to, I think the following day, we were at some beach that had this really crazy sheer cliff to get down, that you had to, climb down this like super awesome natural selection stuff. So super shit, and we spent the day at the beach. That's a little memory I have about that. I think I kind of told the story about my dad shooting, but I don't think I told the story very well. I just kind of like hit the highlights, I think. I don't know. So I had been with my dad for the summer, I believe. It could have just been like a little visitation, but I'm guessing it was like a longer. And it was nighttime, and I was being brought back to my grandparents' house. And we got there, and my dad drove this old rusty pickup. We just showed up, and my grandparents' driveway, and I don't know what my dad needed. Maybe he wanted to see my little brother, or I don't know why he needed to get out of the truck to drop me off. Now a argument started between like my grandma, my grandpa on my mom's side, my mom, and my dad. And this fight progressed to the point where I remember literally there being a tug of war between my dad and my grandma, and I was the rope, literally pulling me back and forth like this, right? So this all went on, and at some point, I think my grandpa pulled out a gun, like when that started-ish, around that point, and was like, a little gun, which I think was his mistake. So if you know you're going to shoot somebody, or if you're planning on shooting somebody in a self-defense type of situation, yeah, I don't know. If my grandpa had killed my dad, what would my life been like? I don't know. But it's not like my dad was some great person. So I honestly, I don't believe in killing people, but I seriously just, my grandpa was a really good dude. Until like he almost was dead, then some things started being talked about, but who knows. I always knew him as a good dude, but anyway, so he pulled out this little gun and was just like pointing it at him, and my grandmother and mother went inside. I don't remember if my little brother was out there when all this started, and I don't know why the hell I was still out there. So at some point, my dad literally goes up to my grandpa and shoves him. And this is how I don't know how he well, in court, in a civil lawsuit, it's a different situation than it is in a criminal lawsuit. So somehow my dad was able to win a civil lawsuit against my grandfather after my grandfather showed him a gun, pointed it at him, may have even told him he was going to shoot him if he didn't go away or something to this effect. And then my dad proceeds to go push him on his own property. Like, what the fuck? Courts, this is the judicial system. Seriously. Fucking. Anyway. And who knows, my grandfather may have just just given him the money without a fight, which is probably what happened, because my grandfather seemed to just have a memory of my grandfather telling me he gave him the money in hopes that it would do me good. Yeah. So, yeah. What a nightmare. Anyway, so, Grandpa pulls out the gun and starts shooting from the hip. Now this is a fucking guy that's been shooting guns his whole life and has more guns than frickin', he was a mega owner. I don't even know. He probably had 200 guns when this happened. I'm just guessing. Cases full of guns. And again, not assault rifles. They were, antiques and I don't even think hunting rifles. Literally mostly antiques. I think he unloads on him. My dad ends up across the street in the neighbor's yard. Well, one of the neighbors is the district attorney for Multnomah County. I think that's how it works. District attorney. Anyway, he lives literally 2 houses away from my grandparents, which that neighborhood now is turned to a neighborhood that you wouldn't find anybody with he had a nice house, but I think nowadays people like that live in little more. Anyway, he lived in Northeast Portland, so this might have been why there was no charges, maybe. I would even venture to say that I've ended up with no charges from that connection, randomly, if I had to guess. I've never done anything that people would be, oh, you got away with that? Nothing like that. So definitely, possibly, I've definitely had to go to court and do all that shit. It's not like stuff just disappeared, but anyway. So my dad's laying there across the street on the ground. I and my little brother were put into my grandma's room. This, here, you kids go over there and stay there. So we were like in kid jail, locked, and I remember the oddest thing was how I was almost like, I wasn't crying. It was almost like I was hysterically giggling or something like this, or it was very odd. You know, I think it just, you know, it was just some crazy for a kid to, you know, I mean, tug of war, then somebody gets shot, dad gets shot, grandpa shoots him, you know. So, you know, I don't understand that, and I don't ever, and I'm not sure if I ever asked those psychologists. Maybe that's why I ended up in psychology. Like, he was laughing, he's psycho. Which I'm definitely not psycho. I think I'm actually the opposite psycho. I think I'm an empath. But that's a whole nother story for later on in the conversation. Because I didn't even know what that was when I was 8. But anyway, I remember, see, I have a vivid memory of the officer saying that blah, 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 they normally don't make 8-year-olds testify in court. So I was having a conversation, or, yeah, I think I was having a conversation with the cops. I think the cops questioned me, was how it went down. Like, because it was just me, my grandma, or no, it was just me, my dad, and my grandpa. My grandma and my mom went inside. I think they might have taken my little brother inside or something like that. I don't know why the hell they didn't take me inside. The gun comes out, the kids go away. Anyway, that is about, I don't know, me and my little brother were in the room for a while. I think we had kind of a strange conversation about death. My little brother didn't know my dad too well, so it wasn't like, he didn't have the connection there. I've never even been with him, like, lived with him, other than, like, the first, I think they got a divorce, like, months after he was born, so my little brother has no recollection of my parents ever being together. So, I mean, he pretty much had my stepdad as a dad his whole life, so.